meeting to order.
Okay, folks, welcome to our meeting of the Tricentennial Committee. It's Tuesday, June 27th. We welcome not only the committee, but we have some guests that have joined us this evening. And we welcome the folks who are watching on ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. We have a lot on our agenda, and we do have a quorum. So I officially open up the meeting on behalf of my co-chair. And I guess I'd like to start off with some introductions. I'm Dave Clifton, co-chair. And of course, I'll pass it on to the next person.
Okay. I'm Michelle McGee, and I am co-chair of the committee as well. And Dave and I had agreed, if it's okay with the rest of the committee, to speed it up to introduce the committee, but let the guests introduce themselves. But if you have something that you want to add, please do. So this is Jeanette Kamara. Jeanette is our treasurer. This is Dale Carrister. Dale Carrister is currently doing community relations. To his right is Ed Hands. He's our events coordinator and vice chair. To his right, Ken Michael. I will let you introduce yourself.
I'm Ken Michael.
Everybody is good.
And newly appointed, soon to be appointed member of the committee and currently president of the Eastern Historical Society.
I'm going to close that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
And then on the other side of the table is Michael Good. Michael is our marketing communication chair. And I will let Souza and Brian Hoffman introduce themselves.
I'm Tina Souza. I'm a guest this evening.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm Brian Hoffman. I'm also a guest.
And we welcome guests. So please feel free to attend any of our meetings anytime. They are open to the public, and we are looking for public support and excitement.
At this time, I'd like to approve the minutes of our May 30th meeting. Everyone should have received a copy of the minutes. I hope that you've had a chance to review them. And if you have any suggestions, additions or subtractions, this would be the time to bring it up.
I will make a motion to approve the May 30th minutes.
Let's let the motion come from someone outside of co-chairs.
I'll move for approval of the minutes from the meeting of May 30th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second and a third. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes of May 30th are approved, and we'll see to it that they get posted. What I'd like to do right now is to get some folks to give some reports.
Come on in, Courtney. It's fine.
I'm going to start with
What we're going to do.
the co-chair. First of all, let's introduce, I know we've met our guest already, so I don't think we have to go there again, Michelle.
Did you want to let them speak?
Yeah, let's go to the co-chair reports, and I'm going to start with Michelle, and then I'll give my report as a co-chair. Go ahead, Michelle.
So I'd like to it's okay. We'd like to welcome.
This is like a coffin.
It is very warm in here.
I'm not gonna survive. I'm literally, there's no way.
Okay.
Can
Just
we
so you
open up some of
know,
these
there's
windows?
the pumpkin approved thing, it's not a joke, it's real.
Okay.
And I need air conditioning.
Yes, I understand.
But, so if not air conditioning, maybe we need the door open or something. I just
It's
let you
just,
know.
it's so loud.
Well, that might be better than passing out.
Okay.
Oh, look at that, Dale, I love you so much, just manhandle that.
So I'm going to
door.
introduce Courtney Pupkin to our meeting. Courtney is our
They keep me around because I raise a lot of money.
fundraising and sponsorship chair.
I can cancel at the council meeting.
But I am a pain in the neck, and I'm aware of that, and I apologize.
It was great.
But it,
That feels better already.
I was raised with AC.
I'm pretty free in the mornings.
There's in the storm.
It's an illusion.
Okay, we're going to get back to our meeting. Courtney is our chair of the fundraising committee, which is certainly a very important committee. And now we're going to go back to Michelle.
Okay.
She's going to give her co-chair report, and
And-
we've made a lot of visits.
All right, and before we do that, on the agenda is guests, and we did introduce our guests, but we did want to give them a chance to speak if they did want to bring something up, so that you wouldn't have to stay for the whole meeting if you didn't want to. But we'll start with Ken Michael. Ken, do you have anything that you wanted to introduce
Nothing
tonight?
at
Or
this time.
okay, we welcome you to the committee. Very happy to have you. Thank you so
Give me
much.
a couple of days.
Oh, okay, all right, not a problem. I know where you live. Tina, did you want to bring up anything tonight, or?
No, I'd actually just like to get a good feel for what's happening, and I'd like to see about maybe joining up.
I think that sounds great. We're very
Thanks.
excited about that. And Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, thank you. So I am here as a guest, and both Dave, excuse me, and Michelle have done their best to see if I'd be interested in joining the committee, but the reason I met with them was to kind of put the oar in the water to be a vendor supplying customized memorabilia, giftware, things that would memorialize the 300th at certain events or during the course of the 300th year. And as such, and from prior committee work in the town, I think it would be an awkward situation to be both on the committee and providing materials to the event. So I've spent several hours with Dave and Michelle sharing kind of organic knowledge of the town and things I've been involved with. I will continue to do that kind of in an ex officio role, but not as part of the committee. As a 49-year resident of the town, I am psyched that there's going to be a 300th and that it's looking to be such an incredible event. So I'm glad to help any way I can.
So we really want to thank you for being here, Brian, and Dave and I personally want to thank you for all the time that you have already spent with us. It's obvious we have a lot of years at this table in this town, and we really appreciate everyone's input, people who've been on these committees in the past, 250th, 275th. So, and really happy to see community members here tonight. This is the goal of this event, is to bring community together and work together. So we appreciate you coming out tonight and for all of your expertise and advice. And we look forward to you coming back again. And we have had, so my report includes that we did meet with Brian, and as Dave indicated, we did have several meetings since our last meeting. Dave and I attended the select board meeting that you were all invited to. You can certainly watch us on ECAT if you would like. That is the June 12th meeting, and they asked us for an overview of where it's going. They seemed extremely pleased with the things that we had to report, which were the 4 signature events that we voted on last time, and just some excitement to build up amongst the select board committee. We also spoke with the fire chief regarding fire-centered events, those being fireworks and a bonfire. He is, Chief Justin Alexander, our fire chief, has suggested for a bonfire March, April, May, September, October, or November. So he has suggested 6 months of the year, and they do not include January, February, March, June, July, or December. As far as the fireworks go, I think right now it seems that those can kind of be placed anywhere. So, but that was his recommendations to us. We also met with Superintendent Leisha Cabral, the superintendent of the Easton Public Schools. Had a very lengthy meeting with her, super productive, super cooperative, very interested in getting the community into that new school, interested in hosting perhaps our gala at the Blanche Ames School, and has agreed to discuss with us some really exciting things, like when we have a logo, putting that logo on all the school uniforms that year, painting that logo on the football field, incorporating some educational classes in every grade to include micro-local Easton history, and lots of other ideas from our awesome superintendent. The Tricentennial Committee also individually were offered tickets to the YMCA Gala, which some of us attended last week, began spreading massive word about the Tricentennial celebration, and were able to garner some really good volunteers from that event. We've had Andrew Parker, who's with the Easton Lions, come forward and say that he would chair our volunteer subcommittee. Dr. David Mudd, who is also of the Easton Lions Club, has stepped up to become our fireworks coordinator. And outside of that YMCA Gala, we also, Ed Hans had suggested Corey Ahonen as our parade coordinator, and we have a meeting with him on Friday, and he's very excited to step into that role. I'm going to breeze over the fact that we met with Stonehill because I'm going to let Dave address that, but we did meet with the president of Stonehill College yesterday, and it was a wonderful meeting. We have that meeting with Corey on Friday. We also have a meeting with Langwater that we are pushed out a little bit. I don't think we're ready for that, but we do want to connect with businesses, and one of the ideas that has come up is having kind of a pop-up store through 24 and 25 that's maybe open once a week, similar to the farmers market at Langwater. And their old shed that they used to use for their farmers market was something we were going to discuss for that store, or perhaps a spot downtown, or but there's lots of options for that. So, but we did push our Langwater meeting out a little bit. We're feeling that we're putting the cart before the horse on a few things like that. The only other thing that I have to report in my report is that you should have received your approval to this committee, and you need to be re-sworn in to be back on this committee. We did have one resignation, Molly Tangelo, who was our secretary, so we are looking for that, and also an assistant secretary. But everyone else has signed on, and Ken Michael has gratefully accepted the position as our additional member. I don't think he's going to take the secretary role, but who knows? And with that, you also should have received something about ethics training and such. So if anybody has any questions about town specifics, you should have received this in your email, and I'll put it on the table if you want to see it, but there's lots of great resources from our town on how to make sure that you're following open meeting law and other things that we are required to do. This is our new Tricentennial Committee list, and I'm just going to pass this around in case you have a change of phone number or anything like that, or you see anything on there that's missing. Guests, please feel free to fill it in if you would like. And that is the end of my co-chair report.
Well, that ends our meeting, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to, in my report, just remind everybody that Michelle and I also received a document. I have it under new business. It's a reorganization form that we have to fill out, and Michelle is, myself, probably when I go to get sworn in, I'll turn that over. Our meeting with Stonehill College and Father Dunning was absolutely terrific. His chief of staff also joined us at the meeting. I was so impressed with the Dunning Hall. I mean, it's truly amazing what's over there. And I'm happy to report that Father Dunning is happy to cooperate. He wants to make sure that the town of Easton, that Stonehill College is part of the town. And we talked about a lot of things. And the one thing that he seemed to be interested in, although he had to check with staff, was to use Stonehill College for our gala ball. We threw a date out, December 27th, which is a date we've been talking about. And of course, the college is closed. They're all home. And even he said that that might be a good thing for us to be able to have the campus to ourselves, which includes the parking and everything. And he suggested the athletic facility would be the place that would house 400 or 500 people. This is a gala ball. It's our final event of the year in 2025. And it's a chance for us to bring the town together, all the elected officials, it's a
Thank you.
chance for us to not just have this celebration to cut the cake for the anniversary, but to celebrate all the activities that will take place during the year 2025. His chief of staff stepped right up, and she was willing to do whatever we can. There were suggestions like during the anniversary year that they would put a banner at the entrance saying, congratulations, Town of Easton, as you celebrate your 300th anniversary. But we left it, so we're going to talk again, and he's going to do some homework. They have some suggestions, and between Michelle and I suggesting 75 things, I think he was worn out after our meeting. And I'm so happy that we have the college in our backyard. And some of you folks, I know, Ken, your name was mentioned by the good Father John.
And you too, Brian.
Yeah, and Brian mentioned as well. So we just thought we'd open up the door, and it was good to be there. And I knew Father Dunning because I think I interviewed him about 5 or 10 times over the years doing the basketball games. So that's how we know each other. One terrific guy. The next item on the agenda that I'd like to talk about is our meeting schedule. As I look at where we are now, and of course we're reorganizing as of next month, we have most everybody here. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank Molly, our secretary, for the work that she did. You know, it's, you think of it as being an easy job just to be the secretary, but in between posting agendas and minutes, it's a lot involved. And we're in the process of trying to find someone else that can fill in. And we've even talked about the possibility of having an assistant secretary who could not put all the burden on one person, but maybe a couple of people working together can take care of that job. So Molly, if you're watching, thank you very much for what you've done. And it's volunteers that make committees like this work. And so I guess my thought is that I'd like to see us meet again in July. And the date that I have picked out with my co-chair Michelle was the 12th of July. And our treasurer, Jeanette, is offered to make the Bank of Easton the meeting place in their conference room. And she has a request that if we meet, that we meet at 6 o'clock. So she doesn't have to hang around for an hour and a half when she gets through work. So that's okay with Michelle and I and Jeanette, but how do you folks feel? I think we need to catch up on a lot of things. We got a lot of things coming up. And as I said a long time ago, I feel very strongly, and I think Michelle agrees, that we want to be able to determine by the end of 2023 what the events are, who's going to chair them, where are they going to be held, and of course, Courtney, what are they going to cost is something that you're going to be interested in as well. So I'd like to get a reaction. I know that it's tough to meet twice a month, but maybe things could ease off down the road once we get things organized. And we need to get chairs of committees, and we need to get committees. You know, it takes about 35 people to run a parade. So even though folks out there watching, you only see maybe 10 people here, the fact is that we need to expand. We need lots of volunteers. This is your celebration, and this is ours. And we want to be able to be very proud of the 300th anniversary get-together. Any comments on meeting on the 12th?
Are you proposing to meet twice a month, or you're just proposing one meeting?
Well, I wanted to start, I didn't want to scare people off by
you're
saying every
proposing-
month, but, you know, I think even though it's the summer, and if everybody can't make every meeting, we need to have a quorum.
So you're proposing an additional meeting on July 12th?
That's correct.
Would it be one meeting in July, and is that what you're?
No,
No,
we do
two.
already have a
Fourth-
meeting, July
the fourth,
27th.
The fourth
Or
Tuesday of the
28th?
month, this June 12th happens to be, July 12th happens to be a Wednesday.
I would suggest, based on tonight, that we put out a motion, ask for a motion to have our July and August meetings at the bank and not here, based on this. So I would add that to your suggestion.
I agree. Any other comments? Would someone like to make a motion that we meet again
Motion.
on July 12th at 6 PM at the Bank of Easton?
And second.
And change the other 2 meetings that are scheduled to the bank.
The 27th, so the 12th
And the
and
August
the.
meeting.
Yeah, I'm only talking about 2 additional meetings,
I'm talking
July and
about,
August.
I'm talking about changing the location of all summer meetings to the bank.
I didn't include that in my motion.
I suggested it.
I don't know if the bank is willing to do that.
Yeah.
So, does everybody agree with that? Having all the meetings at the Bank of Easton during the summer?
It's only 3 more meetings.
Mm-hmm. So
And
Court-
Courtney, was that your motion, was to approve the additional meetings and also to have those summer meetings, both July and August meetings, at the bank?
So that would be 4 meetings.
Okay.
Right.
So we have
So-
a motion
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Courtney, a
6
second
o'clock.
by Dale.
by
6
Dale.
o'clock, good.
All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Okay.
Anybody opposed? No. Okay, the motion is carried, and we have 4 meetings coming up during the summer. And if somebody has a planned vacation, as long as we have a quorum, we'll be flexible, but we got a lot of business to undertake. Good enough. The next item on the agenda, and Ed, this might involve you as well, is the signature event. We have approved officially as a committee that we'd like to have fireworks, we'd like to have an anniversary parade, and that we'd like to have an anniversary gala ball. So
And
those have
bonfire.
already been approved. We didn't really.
And bonfire.
And a bond.
And the bonfire. We didn't approve the picnic, although we talked a lot about it. And the other thing that we didn't approve were the dates and the place where we're going to have these events. And I think that would be very helpful in terms of us doing our planning and preparing. So what I'm asking tonight, even though we've already voted on having fireworks, let's talk a little bit about how do you feel about Flag Day, which is June 14th, having a fireworks display along with a picnic during the day. That would give us an opportunity to celebrate the red, white, and blue, the American flag, at the same time as our anniversary. There was some concern about the weather conditions because we had decided a long time ago that January 1st would be the date. But after discussions with the fire chief, he approved January 1st. But some of us had some concern about the weather conditions. We'd probably get more people at a Flag Day ceremony. Some of us thought it would be a great idea to kick off the year with a bang. Fireworks going up in the air on January 1st. And although we don't have that on the schedule, it might be something we want to talk about as a first day celebration. But let's talk about the fireworks first on the agenda. How do you feel about June 14th, kicking off the fireworks at 9 p.m.? Anybody would like to step in and give a comment?
Yes.
I don't see your hand raising. No, okay, go ahead.
I saw your hand raised.
Thank you. I would prefer that we talk about the year as a whole rather than an event by event.
How do we do that?
So I think we should say what the date, what the months are for the 4, so that we're not bunching everything up. Do you know what I mean? So instead of saying, how do you feel about June fireworks, could we say where these 4 events you see them?
Forgive me for disagreeing with my co-chair. I feel very strongly that we should do one at a time, and let's decide
Well,
when
why
the
don't we let
fireworks are
the
gonna
committee
take
decide
place.
how they want to do that?
Well,
If I might-
I'm opening it up to the committee.
Yeah,
Being
Go
a
ahead, Ken.
guest, still a guest, why not just go one at a time for each month? We're talking January through December, so just go January, this event for this month, discuss that.
That's not a bad idea. As a matter of fact,
You
I
cover
thought
the
it-
whole- You cover the whole year, but you're also
Yeah.
covering each of them.
Well, in the past, oh, I should have raised my hand.
I think you're fine.
In the past, we've talked about an event for each season. So let's do with that, and they won't bunch up that way. So, you know, a winter event, a spring event, a summer event, and, well, we have to find where to put the picnic, I think, is this one. And I've seen a suggestion, I think it came from Michelle, that the picnic might work well on the weekend of Memorial Day, not on Memorial Day, but the weekend of Memorial Day. I think the weather would still be good. There is a tradition in town, the Ames family used to have a picnic event, and that would work.
Did you say Memorial Day or Labor Day?
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
okay, that's what I was gonna say. There's a conflict with what's going on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
But you're talking-
Just hit me on it, yes, I haven't slept in a while.
I figured I'd ask first.
I appreciate
before hitting
that, thank
this.
you.
Okay.
So what is the committee's feeling at this point about how we want to go about this discussion?
I had understood that what we had agreed upon earlier was this one per season thing, so I think it makes sense to address it in that context, because I think we want to spread out the signature events, and I had understood we had agreed upon that before, so I would recommend that we discuss based on the
Season.
season
Okay.
approach.
Could I also suggest that about 10,000 American soldiers died while the Vietnamese and the Americans discussed the shape of the table for the peace conference? I think this is, just let's go on and get this done.
Right, I
Good.
agree. Because what I will say is we are already done deciding that we are having a parade, fireworks, a gala, and a bonfire. So I agree. Can we just say the months that these are going to
So
be
of
in?
those four, do we think now that we've already determined the approximate dates for at least two of them? So
Well,
far,
let
right?
me say this, Dale. Based on our last meeting, what was discussed at our last meeting but not voted on was that we would have fireworks on January 1st. This was from the May 30th meeting. That we would have a parade, we had no idea when because this town has 4. That we would have a gala sometime in December, and we would have a bonfire at around Labor Day, September, something like that. So those were the roundabout decisions of this committee at the May 30th meeting. So the proposal tonight is to lock these 4 signature events into at least a month, if not a day. Based on the fire chief's recommendations, Dave and I are suggesting to not have a bonfire on January 1st. If that is not something that our fire chief is feeling comfortable about, we don't feel comfortable about it. So we're taking that completely out of January. The parade, again, was something that we all decided we could not make a decision on the May 30th meeting based on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Halloween, and the Lions Holiday Festival Parade. We had tabled that for this meeting. The gala, I think pretty much everyone decided that December. There was some talk about October, but I think there was a settlement on it being the final event of the year. And the fireworks were going to be, I don't remember them being on January 1st. I don't remember what we talked about. I thought we talked about the bonfire, but regardless, that's where we're at. So the suggestion is, why don't you tell them what the suggestions are for the 4 events?
I
what
think we
dates?
originally did talk about the bonfire, but because the fire chief had some concern about it,
What were his concerns?
I think weather
The
and
wind.
wind for the bonfire on January 1st.
Yeah, the wind is
Yeah.
clearly a
Yes,
problem.
he thought he said it's probably gonna get canceled, and then like how far do you wanna like re-cancel it out? He just suggested that spring is a great time and fall is a great time. Yes, Michael?
So I would recommend, based on the weather, to go and standby bonfire. So you don't want it to be too, I would go with the fall.
Okay.
So, and it used to be, I don't know if it was before homecoming, but there used to be.
Yes.
so we used to-
Absolutely.
That's correct.
So I think that makes the most sense for that.
Okay,
So that's September, October-ish.
so,
I wouldn't call it the fall, but I would say, go, I'm done.
yes, Brian?
Just for a point of interest, because I'm not a member of the committee, but having run fireworks 6 years in a row at the museum, we partnered fireworks with our family golf event. You're gonna hit some pretty rigid restrictions on where you can have it, the closeness to residents or structures.
Yes.
The closeness to brush, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So if you're going to try to marry the fireworks with a picnic, then you have to figure out first the location where the fireworks could be and how adjacent it could be to an area where you would want to do a picnic. And then talk to the fire chief about, would this work, before you go too many steps in that direction.
Absolutely.
And find out he would not, or the fire safety officer would not approve it, because they'll
Where did
need
you
to
guys
approve
send
it
yours?
and be on site.
Easton Country Club.
We did it at the Easton Country Club, we did it out past the 11th tee, which gave it far enough away from, and we had the pagoda and that venue patio there for all of the guests. And we would normally have 140 to 160, adults and children watching it. I mentioned to Michelle that we came up with a fireworks presenter out of New Hampshire, all of whose staff are certified firefighters. And that the chief really loved. And I'll be glad to get that information. Hope they're still in business. That was several years ago. But I just remember the planning part, the logistics of the space where it was critical to the dates notwithstanding, where it's going to be and whether or not that meets the fire chief's criteria is step one. If you can't do that, you don't need to plan the rest of it.
Yes,
So-
and to support what you just said, Stonehill turned 75 this year, and they are having fireworks this year. And that is the one thing that they told us yesterday has been the most difficult. So, making sure that they fall within the regulations, there are many. So just throwing that out there. So I guess at this
It's a great
point.
idea. That just
You know,
is a central thought.
There is something new because there's so many dry conditions throughout the country. A lot of communities that traditionally do fireworks are doing drone fireworks.
Okay.
So
Let me make a suggestion that we table the fireworks and have a discussion with Chief Justin Alexander, and let's not talk about fireworks tonight, if that's okay with everybody.
In the meantime, I'll get the name of the firm to you. and
Ed.
let
They're
you
gonna
know.
give, if we're going to schedule the events, we need to at least have a space for the fireworks.
I agree. So let's do the other events first and see where that fits. Can we?
Let's talk about the parade.
Could
I
we-
like the idea, though, that Dale and Ed had about the seasonal stuff. I think that's something that we're hoping will work.
It's fine. It's fine.
You can take credit for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fine.
We love
Idea.
you.
Let's talk about the parade. I made a suggestion that we do it during the 4th of July weekend. As a matter of fact, I chose the 5th, and that happens to be a Saturday on the weekend, so that if we have a parade, we're not competing with all the 4th of July parades. It might be easier for us to get a band.
That everybody had paraded on the 3rd and the 4th. if
And
you-
some do it on the 3rd.
Yes, like Randall, for instance. And if you want to get a band from out of state, they're going to be here in,
Oh, nice. Yeah. Good thinking. Yep.
in Vaughan. No, I'm opposed to the idea
Okay.
of the 4th of July, just because you're going to be competing, and it's at the minimum going to raise your prices.
Any other comments?
I have a question. So
Yes.
you mentioned there's several other parades that are already happening in town.
Yes, good
So
question.
I have the holiday parade or the dog parade that I was
Yes.
mentioning that the first time.
Yes.
Memorial Day? I'm
Yes.
assuming? What are the other?
So there are already solid parades in May, Memorial Day. There's a solid parade in October. That is the Halloween parade. There is a solid parade in this town in November. That is the Veterans Day parade, and a solid parade in December, and that is the Lions Club's Holiday Festival. So October, November, December, 3 parades in a row. The one that is outside of that season would be the one that happens in May. That's a great question.
Okay.
And that's why we went to July.
So I thought when we talked about some of this, the way back.
Yep.
We talked about just piggybacking on already established events.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than trying to jam another parade on the town, couldn't we look to expand on a holiday parade or one of the other?
It's a
I don't
great question.
understand.
No, it's a great question, and it did come up in this committee, and it was discussed that we did not want to touch the veterans or the Memorial Day
No,
parades.
that you can't do
So those two.
The
how-
Lions Holiday Festival would lend itself to that. I mean, and I think the idea is if we wanted to talk about this possibility with the Lions to do a first day parade and event, you know, and partner with that. I mean, I think that would make some sense. I'm with you on that. I think, you know, we've got 4 parades already in town. I think it's better to, you know, go with the existing momentum. And from my experience, the holiday festival one, you know, with all the kids and everything else, it's very well attended.
Yes, so that would be talking about changing our signature events, because that is already a Lions event. So it would not be our parade, but we could certainly connect with them. But that would mean that a parade would not be one of our signature events, which means we could add one, or,
I actually disagree. I mean, I sort of think it should be one of our signature events, but it's partnering with the Lions who have run this for the town. It's really
Yeah.
a town event, in my view, and I'm just not sure why we'd sort of want to reinvent the wheel. As opposed
because
to
we're
making it better.
raising funds to do Tricentennial signature events, and it's gonna get a little tricky with, we will partner with anyone, but our signature events that Courtney's gonna present her sponsorship levels are events that she's going to try to tie the sponsor to the event, so it shouldn't be a shared event. But we are perfectly willing to do that, and we should do that.
Just to add something to that, you know, this is just the anniversary year. We wouldn't be doing this every year. We wanted to make the year bigger and better, and go ahead, Ed.
So, I don't necessarily see your objection. We could pay for the holiday parade, you know, the bands, et cetera, et
Yes,
cetera.
yes.
And depend on the Lions for manpower, because you need
Yep.
at least 35 guys.
Sure.
That's what we have.
Sure.
And ladies.
However, yes, and ladies.
Yes.
Guys is a generic term.
It is, it's
But,
the pronouns.
that would be a December event.
Yep.
And a gala would be a December.
Yeah,
event.
that's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, which raises the issue of, do you want to build to a big crescendo in December?
Good
Or
question.
do you want to spread it out over the
That,
course of the
so
year?
how does the committee feel about that? Do you wanna condense all of these events into the end of the year as a build-up, or do you wanna spread them out throughout the year?
My suggestion would be, I think the Lions might be amenable to kind of, for this year at least, converting over to more of a first day event. I think, you know, we've had some problems in the Lions about maintaining the energy for the holiday festival and so forth. I think they would perhaps consider, you know, some new energy of doing as like a first day event parade as opposed to the traditional holiday festival that they've
So
done.
I can see that, you know, we spend $50,000 on bands and we have a blizzard.
So, well, you sort of talk, I guess the question of what your event's gonna be, right? I mean, you can have indoor
And that can
events
happen
so
down the
forth, right?
Lions weekend anyway, so I mean, I wouldn't take that into consideration.
That's why
It's usually the first weekend
parade
in
in the warm
December.
months is more ideal.
What about Patriots Day? April 21st, Monday, April 21st, 2025. Mm-hmm,
Looking back at history for the 250th and 275th,
mm-hmm.
both of those were in June, after the Memorial Day, before everybody heads out before the 4th of July. So I think a Patriots Day parade would be interesting because it's also some kind of a thingamajig for the United States that year. 200.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and what about June 14th, which was discussed for the fireworks for a parade?
Yeah, I mean, that's a.
Flag Day Parade? It's on a Saturday that year.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right,
It's 2 weeks after Memorial Day parade,
okay.
but it's a different kind of parade.
Totally, right.
Yeah.
The memorial is very, yes. Yes, memorial is even different from, very different from Veterans Day Parade.
And Patriots Day is not a
Yeah,
weekend
well, it's.
day.
Nope, it's a Monday. So,
So we're doing a lot of jumping around, but at least we're getting people's opinion on this. How do you feel about June 14th? I know you suggested a parade.
For the parade.
or April? maybe we need to talk about the other events and where they're gonna go in order to make a final decision. So we're looking at something between April and June for a parade. Are we all in agreement about a gala in December? Let's call that done. And then we have a bonfire and fireworks to deal with. We have tabled fireworks pending a discussion with our chief, but our chief has already given us the 6 months that he could do a bonfire.
What's the earliest one that he gave us?
April, May, June, September, October, November. Yes,
I'm recommending October for the bonfire.
Okay.
So you could tie it into homecoming in schools.
Yeah.
So they're-
yes.
And the gala in December, right, is that what we're, so
Yep.
those two, we sort of have the fall and
Yes.
winter.
I would suggest, just personally, this isn't, a chair comment, but we want the entire town at these events. So I would suggest that we stick to holidays when people are off. So October doesn't really lead itself to a holiday. I would suggest the Sunday of Labor Day weekend, but that's just a suggestion.
We do have Columbus Day
In
weekend.
October, you have Columbus Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that off, but we
Well,
could
whatever
do
they
it.
call now. There's
We
no
could.
name for
Yeah.
it.
In this case, it's not.
Yep, it is plenty of time.
Indigenous Peoples' Day.
So we could do it. Ooh, that's a rough one, but okay, yeah, we can do a fire on Indigenous Peoples' Day. Yeah.
Again,
Doesn't sound like we're gonna come up with something that everybody agrees on. We certainly wanna be able to try to come up with, I know we've already accepted, it sounds like, the gala event in December. And what was the other, the bonfire?
Not yet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's
What was your recommendation on the bonfire?
October.
Columbus,
October.
Yeah.
Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Question?
Just a point of information, I think, Dave, and I know that there's been discussion that I haven't been part of that came up with these 4 signature events. I like Michael's idea of October for several reasons. Number one, everybody's back, nobody's on vacation. Darkness comes earlier in October. Have you considered the idea of melding the bonfire and the fireworks as one event?
So we have discussed melding the town picnic with something else. We have not discussed any other melding. And the town picnic is not something that we have actually taken a vote on, so that's actually not on the signature events yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I was mentioning the bonfire because you have a lot of little kids who are gonna love to go to the fireworks. They can't stay awake that long, so if you do it in the middle of the summer, light extends, darkness comes later. That was always an issue for us, number one. And number two, in the summer, people do have a lot of other things to go to. Not to mention, 2 and 3 and 4 day club kid sports tournaments that literally on these double elimination tournaments, the families are in Agawam for 4 days.
And I would say October is
Whatever,
probably the
know.
busiest month for
You're
our
laughing like
sports.
you've done it, Mike. Yeah. And so it's just a suggestion that maybe you marry those two, do them in October, and then adopt a different signature event that can happen that isn't weather dependent or light dependent, and, that it may be just a little bit easier logistically to pull off, just a thought.
Does anyone want to make a motion at this point, or?
Well, let me ask in terms of marrying the events, I mean, what about the parade ending with a bonfire?
Well, I don't think we can do that until we decide what month these things are going to be in,
Well, I thought we
right?
were talking the bonfire in the fall in October.
Okay.
So, what
And
a
about
lot of-
pairing it with what, Gail?
There's a lot of communities that
parade?
combine
Parade and
events, like,
bonfire?
I know in Sharon, they do the parade during the day and the fireworks in the evening. And maybe we could combine the picnic with something else. It's,
Well, no, wait a second here. If we kept the gala, used October for the parade and the bonfire, do the parade in the day, the bonfire at night, and then in the spring, do the fireworks and the picnic, late spring, May-ish. before it gets too late, before daylight savings time. That might work. And then January, we could use another signature then.
I think you can see the reason why we need to have some extra meetings. We're gonna do some homework on the fireworks, and I think we're pretty well set with the gala in December, and it sounds like we'd like to have the bonfire in October.
Involving the schools, too. It's a tradition.
And you have first day in January, we're still doing that, right? We're
We did not vote on that, no.
You did not.
Any other suggestions? I know we got a lot on the agenda, and
I
I'd
know
like
your
to...
co-chair reports lasting a lot longer than mine.
But you're talking a lot more.
Touche.
All right, kids.
Anyway,
I personally like the
Like a
idea of a parade on Flag Day. To me,
Yeah.
a parade should be
I like it too.
when the
If
weather's
Ed-
nice.
If Ed says, he's our historian, and it was seconded by Chip Cameron, whose family is historical too, I think that's good.
Well, we could do the fireworks on June 14th easily.
Open?
Yeah, by the way, I mean, is Flag Day, is that the 14th?
That's the
And
14th.
it
It's my
happens to
cousin's
be
cousin's
and it
birthday.
happens to be a Saturday.
So looking at our minutes, we had the idea back then, or at the May 30th, June 14th, 2025,
So I
right?
think that seals it, right?
Yes, that's good
Let's
for me.
do it.
I'm
Yeah.
even have it writing.
Make a motion for June 14th?
You are?
Sure.
Yes.
Make a motion.
I second that.
We have a
For what,
second?
for June 14th?
Great,
Okay.
sorry. And that's a nice way to end the
Is there a
school,
second?
the school year
Yes, yeah.
too.
Yes.
Is that
Right.
second?
Dale, I think.
Dale.
Dale is the second.
Want to call the roll?
All those in favor of having the parade on June 14th?
And it's before the kids.
Aye.
Aye.
Exactly.
All those
That's a
opposed?
great time.
Done.
And
The motion is carried.
Yay.
The
Yes.
parade is on June 14th.
Okay, why don't you somebody make a motion for December 27th so we can.
I make a motion that you have the gala on December 27th.
Any second?
Second,
Nice.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's official.
That's two.
Okay. Fireworks, we're gonna talk to our chief. So the only other things are the bonfire and if we're adding anything to what we have not voted on, like a town picnic or a first day.
I think both of those are worthwhile events. Both should be signature events. The picnic is a wonderful idea, and it's something that if we do it at the right time, it might catch on as a town event that would fill the space between before the harvest fair and after, whatever the hell starts in the spring.
Well, do you remember
I like-
Villa Rosa celebration?
Yeah, it was a Villa Rosa celebration.
yeah.
Every year.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, when was
That's
that?
right, in
was-
September.
August, September.
That's
is
right.
when I
Washington
remember.
Street.
Yeah.
Getting back
Yeah.
to the bonfire, folks.
Ed, what did you just
Well, sure it
suggest?
does.
I
It's a bunch
just,
of
I'm
words.
not.
Chaos out here.
I was
This is like my
suggesting
Housewives reunion.
that we should include both the picnic and first night. as-
Do you wanna make a motion?
I make a motion that we do what I just said.
Any seconds?
Wait,
What did you just
So
say?
the motion on the table, Ed has made a motion to add to the signature events a first day celebration and a town picnic. So that's the motion.
Any
Yeah,
sec-
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. First day celebration would include, Ed,
We don't have,
Yeah, we don't have to decide that. I mean, we were talking initially earlier about some way of finagling the Lions Club
Sure.
issues with the first day event. We can discuss that at a later time. And I think considering that both fireworks and a bonfire are dangerous, we should hold off on those two until we can get the chief here.
I will say the bonfire, you can vote on if you want to, because he has
He's
already
approved it.
clearly said April, May, June, September, October, November. I don't think he's gonna have anything else to add to that.
Is there any interest
Other than a
in
location.
voting on the
We
bonfire
cannot decide
tonight?
on I will say right now that there is no location for this bonfire. That is something that will come later on. She is not prepared to discuss the location of the bonfire at this
I
time.
personally like the idea that Mike was mentioning, the bonfire in October and sort of tied in almost like a homecoming
Yep.
thing. I think that would be great. So in order chronologically, we would be having our first event in 2025 would be the first day event, right? And then we would be doing a parade on June 14th.
Right?
And then we'd be doing a bonfire in October and then a gala to close out the year.
If you wanna make a motion on that, yes.
I like that motion.
So that would be my motion,
A
yes.
second. A second. Ed?
No, vote, then I'm gonna talk, because I wanna get ahead of Michelle on talking.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Do we have a second on Dale's
Courtney.
motion?
Courtney,
I
Courtney?
just seconded.
All those in favor of the bonfire in October?
aye.
So, here's my thing, I think we can nail the last one down.
I thought my motion was for all four.
It's just not the fireworks or the town.
No, we didn't mention anything about fireworks,
Right.
but as referenced, I thought that the motion we were just
It
voting on
was.
was for all four.
It was.
Okay.
However,
Yes.
no, you take as much time as you want.
Although,
They
that
throw
is,
us out.
however, and Tina, this is no thing on you, this is really to the committee, however, we have a 7:45 solid deadline here at 7:21, go ahead.
What is the actual date that Easton became a town?
Great question, Ed will answer that.
Yes, wonderful question. Didn't I tell you guys?
December.
Yeah, December 21st, right,
Okay.
December
And,
21st.
and the first time we tried to celebrate that, we had a blizzard. So we did it in
It's a good
January of the
question,
following year. So,
It's a great question.
I asked because I thought maybe one of the significant.
Because if they had waited like
But
11 more days, we'd be planning this for 2026, which would be great, but we're not.
So, Ed, go ahead.
very, very quickly, the chief gave you days for the bonfire. Fireworks, blow here and there, et cetera, et cetera. I would wonder if, those months are his fireworks months as well. But if they're not, I would like to propose, and this is a conversion for me because I was opposed to it to begin with, when we were discussing it between ourselves, to have the fireworks as part of our January 1st event.
He said no to that, right? Am I right?
You didn't say no
No,
to the
bonfire,
fireworks.
sorry,
It was a bonfire.
Get confused with the fire things.
Yes,
He was
yeah, me
concerned
too.
about the wind
It was the
and the
bonfire.
fire.
It would seem to me that the fireworks either ought to be paired with the first day event or the bonfire, so you have the bonfire and.
I would say first day, and, I mean, Boston does fireworks on January 31st, so, I mean, it's not undoable, so I will
Yeah,
ask
it's
him.
the issue of, again, as with the parade, there are a lot of communities that do fireworks for first day. And, whether we can get the guys at a reasonable price.
Not a lot of them do first day, Ed, but they do New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
You wanna make a
The
motion?
31st.
I do.
I think we should do all the events and get it done now.
January
Today's-
1st for the fireworks.
Well, 31st, you say?
Well, that's a question, yeah, that was always the question.
Well, you got the Boston and everybody else doing it.
I would say 31st, because the kids will go back to school on the 2nd. No one's gonna keep their kids up on the 1st.
Yeah, that's a good point. On the other hand, for
But let me
people
check the
who are
date.
significant drinkers, December 31st is known as amateur night.
Okay,
And the roads are less safe than at any other time of the year.
let me
And
check.
again, I just throw this in. I prefer January 1st. And I say that because we're talking about 2025.
Yes, but that is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So the kids would have to be in school the next morning.
Hmm.
And I think that will.
I think when we were talking about our first day event, we were actually talking about our first day event on the first Saturday perhaps in January.
Okay.
maybe.
We can do that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's a good
January
idea,
4th?
Dale.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you wanna make a motion?
January 4th for our first day event, and we've come up with this better name, and for fireworks is our.
Nobody else is having a fourth day event, and
No.
I think we're gonna
But
break new ground here.
it's not first day, it's.
We could even do it on the 3rd with
Fourth
the
day.
3. So there's a motion by Ed
Yes,
to do January 4th fireworks and first day event.
yes.
I second that.
Pending permission from.
The fire.
Fire
department.
chief,
Yes,
right.
thank you.
Call the vote.
Wow.
Can you call the vote?
After all that
Well,
discussion,
you need to call the vote.
yes.
I vote
We have a
yes.
motion.
I vote yes.
We have a second.
Do we have a second?
I
Yeah,
already did.
we already did. We're
Okay,
calling the vote.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Okay, what do we got next?
Wow.
Next,
Yeah, let's-
Dave's gonna move on
Move
to
on.
his- to
Okay.
mini
Yes, the
events.
500 mini events.
Okay, let's get committee reports.
You gotta do your mini events.
I'm gonna move on.
Yeah.
on that.
Good.
I'm gonna get
Great.
right to the committee
Thank you.
reports. Treasurer Jeanette,
Well, we're starting with
you have a
secretary, which
report.
is me tonight. I am your acting secretary tonight. We have an open position for secretary, and we would like an assistant secretary. Does anyone have any suggestions for secretary and assistant secretary?
anybody on the committee interested in being the secretary?
No, thank you.
We need more blood anyway on the committees. I'll
So-
look for someone.
Or we need more people.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
need
that's what.
people.
Okay.
People.
Well, but
Okay.
different blood. you know,
Touche.
so-
So, well, I think my vote is to add it.
Okay, so I will, please feel free to send any recommendations anybody's way, and we can move on to the treasurer.
I saw Brian volunteer.
No, I was getting rid of a fly.
There was a fly, I did see the
I
fly.
was hoping he
Nice
would
try,
do
Ed.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll say to the folks out there that may be watching that the Tricentennial Committee is looking for a secretary.
Oh, yes.
And an assistant secretary. Please contact Michelle or myself, and we certainly would like to invite you to a meeting.
I have other ideas for you.
All right.
I know Courtney's working on someone right now here at the committee table. Okay, the next report would be our treasurer.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to report. We haven't seen any money come in yet. But we did, Dave and Michelle and I met on Saturday to talk about, and Courtney was there, she came a little later, to talk about preliminary expenses, what we think it's gonna cost. And we came up with a number, including the signature events, plus some other, just other expenses, marketing expenses, the anniversary book, billboards, and we came up with a grand total of $342,000. Which obviously there's some room to wiggle, because we don't really know what some of those costs are gonna be at this point.
Okay, our next report, Ken, Advisory Committee. Do you have a report, Ken?
No, I haven't made the committee yet. I'm still in
Nice try,
probation.
Ed.
No, but
No, I do
we,
not.
okay. Michelle, you want to talk about the business coordinator we're looking for?
Sure, we are looking, so we're currently still working on our organizational flow for, to share with the committee, but we all have discussed that we have 8 subcommittees here, and many of them are full. We have Ed as our events subcommittee chair, and Dale as our community relations subcommittee chair. What is currently open is our business subcommittee chair, and have had some wonderful suggestions for that. So if it, and we are talking to some business members in the community about taking on that role, but if anybody else has anyone to suggest, please do.
Okay,
Give me a
commi-
brief synopsis of what that is, and if I can
Yes.
think of somebody,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll
So,
tap them.
yes, so the business subcommittee would be the liaison, similar to Dale's role as the liaison between the nonprofits, the organizations, and groups such as that. This would be the business liaison. So we want to include our businesses in every way that we can, and we're looking for someone to coordinate things like the shovels in the shop, scavenger hunt, how to get businesses to get stickers in their window that they are a supporter of the Tricentennial. So it's business, you know, maybe they may work with the parade coordinator to help businesses have floats in the parade. So it would be a business slant to Dale.
Ken,
Dale?
Ken had his hand up first.
Oh, no, it's okay, I didn't see you over there. Sorry.
Don't let it happen again.
So that's how it's gonna be, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like the basketball
Just like
court.
I am like that.
It's already like that.
Exactly. What I was just gonna make a suggestion. Doesn't it make sense to contact either or both of the Chamber of Commerce?
And
to
we
see
have,
if anybody
yeah.
would be involved? And
Yep.
the second thing is the liaison for the cultural district. There's a new
Yes.
Amy Rodriguez.
Yep.
big-
We have reached out to both of them.
We've got, okay.
Yep.
And we
Th-
have
and thank
Joan
you.
on the committee who's part of the, Joan Lundgren is
Yep.
on the fundraising committee, and she's part of the cultural.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
Good
I was gonna make the
suggestion.
same statement
I've
basically,
been in touch
which
with Isabel Wilson, sorry.
I thought that the business liaison coordinator should be somebody from the
Yes.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Lawyers or
So we have
Makes
spoken
sense.
with, we have spoken with Ed Bass, Josh Peach, Lisa DeVos, Dottie Fulgenetti, and Frank Altieri. These are all members of either the Easton Chamber of Commerce or the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District, about either taking the role or suggesting someone to take the role.
And I've talked to Isabel Wilson.
And she's also on the chamber. She's the president, actually, so, excellent.
Good suggestion.
We've covered.
But if you
Dale,
have other suggestions, send them forward.
Dale, you have a report on community relations?
Yes, we had our first meeting of the Community Relations Subcommittee, which we didn't tell anybody about because we were rebelling a little bit on that one, but in any event.
You don't need to.
So, yeah, thank you. So in any event, what we're in the process of doing, what I'm in the process of doing is breaking down the different types of community organizations, whether it is, and actually the schools, I was sort of lopping into that so we can sort of perhaps work with what you guys have already been doing on that. But community service organizations on the one hand, I also was including the business, but so we can coordinate with that as well. Youth organizations, special interest, things like the Moms Club and Garden Club and things along those lines. And what I'm trying to do is build the database first and then sort of reach out and make contact with the various organizations, and the idea would be to start making those contacts by September. What I would like to do in order to move the ball forward on that, ideally, would be to help point them towards a website or something that just sort of, even if it's just very basic information, so on initial introductions to some of these organizations, we have something to point them to. My thinking on this is that in large part what we're looking to do is to reach out to those folks and have them come up with some new ideas, and we kind of partner with them for various other events during the year. So by way of example, one of the other groups that we're talking about are all the various neighborhood groups that we would be looking at for each neighborhood, Eastondale, Furnace Village, and so forth. And toward that end, the second thing we had discussed was what would a community forum look like? You know, we want to have certain of these going forward. And I think in part, rather than having just some sort of generic community forum about the Tricentennial, that perhaps what we would do is we're having a community forum about our signature events. It's a way to get volunteers, folks in. And second, having perhaps another one that's focused more on some of these mini events, partnering with you, so you have the various community service and other community organizations attend for that forum. So that's the thinking at this point, but my plan would be either at the 1st or 2nd July meeting to then have us sort of distribute a list of those organizations categorized in that way and then get feedback.
Excellent.
So that's
Terrific.
my report.
I
on
have
all
two
that.
questions,
Yeah.
Dale. One, are you including houses of worship, just out of curiosity?
So yeah, I do have a sort of separate category
Okay.
for the religious thing as well. So I'd like to be all inclusive.
Okay.
So yes.
My other
you.
question is, do you envision your committee to be the committee that would, there's many events in Easton, I've been to about 5 of them in the past month, where this committee should be, you know, in the future have a table at these events. Is that something you find falling under your committee, or is that something we should assign to marketing or somewhere else?
I'm fine to be part of this thing, but I just don't feel like we're ready for it.
No,
yet.
but these,
At the
I'm just
appropriate
wondering
time.
about, is that something you would like to or can be under your committee, or should we reassign that when it's time? Where does that go?
Well, let's put it this way, if it's gonna be under my committee, I would need some help with doing that. In
Okay.
other words, kind of,
Yep.
I'm not gonna have the time to be kind of running out and doing these tables of different things. And so forth.
Absolutely, yep. Okay,
Okay,
thank
we'll
you.
be hearing from you later on, Dale, at other meetings. Ed, events.
Well, I want to say, I'm super impressed by your organizational skills. Your report lasted longer than our meeting. You did a great job on that.
We're filling in the blanks.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I have my report to make is that I can't live up to this high standard. I am resigning from the committee this evening, not from the Tricentennial, but in talking to people about events. I want to do events. I don't want to organize events. So the Raising Multicultural Kids have approached me about doing lesson plans for the school programs.
Wonderful.
The library in their 300 stories, 300 years, have approached me. I'm meeting with the president of the Historical Society this week about something.
Who's that?
And
A player to be named later.
and I'm active with the Eastern Chamber Music Festival, which I hope to steer in the right direction for 2025. So I want to be doing stuff. I'm not an organizer.
So are you resigning from this entire committee?
I'm retiring from your committee.
I see.
I'm
Okay.
not, or better yet, I'm not swearing myself in.
Okay, so, ECAD audience, we are looking for a new member. Thank you, Ed, and I have to give absolute kudos to Ed. He produced a calendar that will be legendary. So thanks for doing this before you left. He has mapped out every event that he can think of that happened in as far back as the 275th, correct?
250th.
250th, and he has mapped out like what day of the week every single day is on for 22, 23, 24, and 25. So this is an invaluable calendar that we can share with all of you at a later date, but that was an amazing amount of work.
I'll ask that you come with a lot of history here in the town of Easton, but we may still have to lean on you
Oh, I'm not
for
going
some
anyplace.
advice
I
and
would
counsel.
Promise?
be happy to be a consultant.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Ed.
Next report, fundraising, Courtney.
So we have two major reports left tonight. Actually, Mike's might not be as, well, I don't know if you're doing logo, but we have 14 minutes left. And Courtney has quite a presentation. Do you think you can?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Close to 9.
I don't, mine is more, I would say at home, you know, we're gonna need some at home reading. Yes. Now,
Thank you.
let me start by saying, I was kind of blind by the end of this, so I'm sure there's typos. This is definitely a draft. It is a draft in so many ways. So, we're proposing to have 4 $25,000 sponsors. And those are premier sponsors that get special recognition. One thing that's really special is the billboard that had been talked about at other meetings previously. Now, after your $25,000 level, we have an assortment of other levels from $15,000 all the way down to $100, the $100 pewter level. But for the bigger, for benefits, it goes down to the $1,000 level. So from 15 to 10 to 1, and it's basically just, you know, items getting subtracted, and your ad size is what would be different at those. And I'm just explaining all this because people may ask you questions, but of course, this is just the very beginning. You could, I don't know, just see something that you think won't work. I'm like, and some things I put in, that Michelle said we will be doing. For example, it says like customized shovel for scavenger hunt. Well, we're gonna have to like embellish that. That's just more of a placeholder. So things you'll see.
It's a draft.
It's a draft.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, but please take it home, send me an email if you find things. I also, what else is, the other thing that's a draft, of course, are the names. I tried to, if anyone so desires, I worked off of the Gloucester, she taught me how to say it.
Nice.
The Gloucester 400 sponsorship opportunities form. And what they did for their names is they went off bodies of water like coves, beaches, I think, and some other things. I just wanted to stay very neutral. So if people have suggestions for these names, everything is flexible. I take nothing personally. So I really welcome all feedback. For example, like, also I just wanna say like pole banner for the year, like we just don't know yet what that's, we're still working on that, because there's some problems. And also, we're also trying to work out the additional sponsorship opportunities. But in the meantime, this is our start. And, so under patron sponsors, there's a 500 granite, it's on your last page, 250 iron and 100 pewter. I went over those with Ed today, and,
We
he
got rid
thought
of
those
bronze,
were,
so went granite.
he thought those were, fitting, cause we have granite in Easton, iron in Easton, and there was a pewter factory at one point. So those are all Easton related, but like I said, I tried to stay neutral, but I don't know what to do.
Well, I think you did a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Dale?
Given the time constraints, should we look at this as our homework and then give
Right.
you
Yes.
feedback?
Yes,
And
that's what I
first
like.
focus on this overall structure, then start looking a little more detail from there, would that be helpful?
Unless anybody has any quick questions for Courtney?
So that'll be for our July 12th.
Excellent.
Yeah, we'll go over that again at the next meeting.
And I'm just gonna put this out there, that I did ask, Jeanette if she could speak with Mark about if we can make a recommendation for a beneficiary, because that's something that people typically ask me. We have some possibilities, it could be, like, if there's money left over, let's say, most of the money will be fundraising for, of course, for our different things, and like the yearbook itself is gonna be costly, and graphic design, etc. But if there's money left over, we need to decide if we're gonna have a beneficiary, and so we talked about the town of Easton.
Town of
the
Easton.
Well,
Historical
you know what,
Society.
we won't even talk about that
All right.
because that's really a town decision. We are raising the money and the money goes to the town, so they get to choose the beneficiary. We may have
We
a
want
say in that.
recommendation.
Yeah,
make a
but let's,
recommendation.
Right, we
Let's-
wanna know if we can make a recommendation.
Right, so-
So I just wanted to say, this is not all inclusive of all the,
It's a
all-
draft, it's a
It's a
draft.
but also we could, we will have like a brochure, and it may include a beneficiary recommendation or not.
Okay, Courtney, thank you very much. Mike, I wanted Mike Good to give us his report. We only have a little bit of time left before we have to adjourn.
You got 4 minutes, young man.
I'm interested in the logo as
All right,
well.
It's good. So between the last meeting and now, I'll put a pause on the contest. We'll save that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Because that's gonna go sideways. I just have a.
Yep, well, 4 minutes,
So-
yeah.
So we'll stick to
Make that.
what is actually structurally sound. It's the website. So Michelle secured us a URL, which was huge. The beta version of the website is up. It's built.
Mhm.
So John is, thank you, John, is working on pointing that URL to the hosting site. So between now, I don't know if it'll be the next meeting, but definitely later, we're actually getting together this Thursday.
Well, yes.
I should be able to send everyone an email soon and say, the Easton 300 website is up and you can go look at it. So just to give you some quick highlights. So it's gonna very much mimic the Lions Club website, because that's who's building it, is the same web designer. But basically, we're gonna create, nice. We're basically,
Sorry.
Did you get it?
I
yeah,
actually got it.
You weren't aiming at Mike, were
Sorry, any
you?
environmentalists who
You're
are
taking up
watching.
his time.
Sorry, you're in.
so the shell of the website, and basically what we're gonna have on there, committee bios, event calendar, which once we actually establish that, we're gonna have a place or a bucket where you can go on and volunteer, so volunteer registration. We'll also have an updates blog area, an area for donations and fundraising, so we wanna talk about how to get that money from the site to the bank account, that kind of thing. And then one of the other things we talked about was a countdown tracker, so maybe at the beginning of 2024, start the clock, work our way down. The logo in the top left-hand side to be determined by the contest. And then a place for stories from the town, stories about the town from a historical and cultural perspective. So those can be, right out of the history books, or if folks in the community wanna send a story and we review it, wanna post it, that kind of idea. So long story short, again, the site is nearly there, and then obviously from the planning of, or reaching out and showing people where to go, making sure they know it's a real event, we'll have that for you soon.
Great, excellent.
Thank you, Mike.
Again, if
That's
you wanna
exciting.
see what it looks like,
He's not
go
done
on the
yet.
Lions
One more
website.
thing. So you talked about from a marketing perspective, events and having a table, that if it's that type of event. My wife has agreed, we have, to be involved
It's on
with
tape
the marketing committee. That's actually her job. She works for Boston Landing. She's the head of their media and advertising.
What's her
So,
name?
Kim.
Kim Good.
Kim Good, all
Yeah.
right, Kim.
So
thank you.
that's what she does for a living, so she's gonna put that to good use for the Tricentennial.
Thank her.
So we'll start pulling her in and she'll be on some of those subcommittee discussions, but for tables, if you wanna put that under marketing, we can talk about that. That makes
Okay.
probably more sense,
Wonderful.
but.
Feels like
Excellent.
happy.
Yes. Accepted.
I could,
No need for a motion.
folks, before we adjourn, and of course, Mike, we'll have the logo on the agenda for the next meeting on July 12th, okay?
Yep, definitely.
I need to get a motion to adopt the reorganizational memo that I got from the town clerk. It just needs a vote.
I think we might have to wait now since our vice chair just resigned and we have an open seat. We should check on that.
I think we have a majority to do that. I don't think we should have to put this off.
Can you just pass that around quickly? I'm not sure if I already have it, but. Okay.
I don't think it's an emergency situation. I just filled out ours about a month ago for last year. They're like, hey, you didn't do this. But,
I've been unresigned for 15 minutes.
It's not effective till,
Yeah, it's
Right.
essentially not adopted.
You're still here.
You haven't actually left.
you're here till the.
Yeah, he hasn't left it.
He didn't want
July,
that.
okay.
And I'd be happy to work with the next event person.
So Dave, you're looking for a motion to
Motion.
approve this form?
Yeah.
Well, it's not filled out yet.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Well,
It's
it
a
only
blank
requires a signature. I mean,
It requires an election.
I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt this, and we'll submit it to the town clerk. Anybody like to make a motion?
But I guess what's the content of it, though?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
so
take a motion,
you're
there's
asking
nothing
us
on
to sign a
it.
blank check.
Right.
which
We need an
I'm perfectly
election for
happy to do.
co-chairs and
Yeah,
vice
I'm
chair.
walking out the door.
So maybe we can do that in
Is this
July.
for the,
Yeah.
is this for the July 1st year?
Yeah,
Oh,
we can
so
do that on
do
the
that.
next meeting
Okay.
if you want.
We'll put it on the next meeting.
So before we do take a motion to adjourn, let me just say that we do have a logistics person has stepped up. Mark Lamb has agreed to take that position. And as I mentioned earlier, Andrew Parker has agreed to take the volunteer subcommittee position. There was one more thing that I just want to mention that Courtney and I discussed. This fundraising effort, she is focused on sponsorships. There is a fundraising effort, and maybe we can talk to Kim about this. There is a fundraising effort of running fundraisers during the year of 2024. And Courtney does not feel that she has enough bandwidth for both of those. So we are looking for, so to speak, an assistant fundraising chair to take on these tables, and if we run a concert as a benefit, or the things that we do to fundraise, Courtney is happy to be involved, but she's not going to do both. So just want to put that out there.
Okay, so motion to
Before
adjourn?
you do, may I ask a favor? So the subcommittees are a little fluid right now, but it looks like I would like permission to independently, on an ad hoc basis, contact Mike, probably, and Kim too, and Courtney, and whoever takes Ed's place, because somewhere between now and early fall, I wanna meet with those people about the kinds of things that we might be able to design and produce that will fundraise, that will bring money into the thing by selling things like, wine, sets of wine glasses with the 300th, or stone coasters, or tea fobs, or whatever it is. We'll do whatever you want to do at a very low cost, so they can be resold all through the year at pop-ups, at kiosks, at participating businesses. When I was at the museum, we sold things through banks, through, grocery stores, whatever. So if I may have permission to reach out to those people, sit down and get ideas of what they think might be amenable, then I can put together a presentation of here's what could be available, here's generally speaking what the cost to the committee would be, and what you could price them at, and they then become, a source of funding, as well as a source of collectibles. And honestly, several of the ideas that Michelle and I talked about were probably related to the signature events, and certainly to the gala, where you have limited editions. There are only 300 of these folks, so once they're gone, they're gone. Those kinds of things at a premium level can be really kind of, the exclusivity generates the interest. So Is it okay with you that I reach out to those folks?
I don't know what the parameters are of that, but don't see a problem with that because, I mean, you're gonna get solicited by Google at this point for, so I mean, everything is brought to this committee and voted on by this
Yeah.
committee, so I don't see a problem with you reaching out to anybody
Cool.
on the committee.
All right.
They'll
Thank
bring
you.
it here and,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'll pull some stuff together that can then come back to the committee. I don't know, Kenny, an advisory, is that something you need to be
I'll
involved
sit
in
on
too?
some of them, sure.
Okay, sure.
Make your
Well,
motion. to
thank
that.
you, go ahead and,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn.
We got it, yeah, you're ready, take a vote.
We are officially adjourned.
Aye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you,
You guys
ECAT.